Hello and welcome to the Dojo, a search marketing news podcast hosted by Exposure Ninja. My name is Dale Davies. I'm the head of marketing at Exposure Ninja. I'm joined by Charlie Marchant, our CEO. Hey, Charlie, how you doing?
Hey Dale, doing really well. How are you?
Not too bad. Are you enjoying the music as we came in just then?
Loving it. Loving the intro music. It reminds me of like The Sims, as if The Sims went to the supermarket. That's the vibe I got from it.
Do you know what? I was editing the podcast last week and I was re-uploading and I was trying a bunch of different songs. And I was so tempted to just leave that running the entire way through because I was just like jamming along with it. I
It would
really liked it.
honestly keep our pace a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of pace, let's get straight into it. So this week we're going to be talking about ChatGPT's shopping update. A lot of people might not know what that is just yet, Charlie. Perhaps you want to give them a bit of a summary.
Yeah, sure. So ChatGPT have rolled out a shopping update to their 4.0 and 4 versions, but this is across paid, pro, and the free versions of ChatGPT. And essentially what they've done is added a carousel, which looks a lot like what the Google shopping ads you'd be familiar with looks like. So that's going to be, say, for example, you say, find me the best blenders, £100. And then you have like a carousel of multiple images across the top for different blenders, different price points. And it's pulling through listings from places like Amazon, Currys, Ninja Kitchen, in that example, for all of the best blenders. So you're going to see things like the NutriBullet, the Ninja blender, Breville's cheap version of their blender that's like £23. All of those coming through like product listings. The important point is, though, it's a shopping experience, but they're not paid ads. So they're not Google ads, they're not Bing ads, they're not ChatGPT's own ads. They're just a shopping product feed, not paid for.
Spot on. I'm going to bring onto the screen for those who are listening on the audio feed. I apologize. You're going to have to hop over to youtube.com/exposure ninja. You'll be able to see everything that we talk about today. You're only going to very briefly bring up something, so don't worry, you're not going to miss out too much. I'll try and describe it as best I can. So for those of you who are watching along at home on your mobile devices or desktop, this is what you'll see if you search for something today. So I'm just going to move myself off the screen so I can see myself better. There we go. Cool. So when you search for something, so in this case, I've searched for the best home espresso machine. You've got 3 products along the top. They're selected by a bunch of different criteria, and they try to pick something that is, budget friendly or best for experts, or, in this case, it's telling you about all-in-one convenience and so on. Depending on what the product is that you're searching for, it will make that judgment decide to go with budget friendly or top end. So for example, if I searched for espresso machine earlier doing a bit of experimentation, it popped up with a £6,000 espresso machine because it was like, this is for the prosumer, the person who's like a consumer but produces their own coffee at home and so on. Have you played around with like the features of this just yet, Charlie?
Yeah, I have done a little bit. I have to say, so you've got a US VPN on there to show US results, and I've been playing on the UK version, and I would say it's inconsistent. So for the same search in UK, I'm not getting a shopping feed, but then when I do best blenders under £100, I am getting a shopping feed. So I think, just so everyone's aware, you're probably not going to see this consistently. It's going to be different. But I have had a bit of a play around because it's pretty interesting underneath. If you scroll down, probably what you have as well is then like a more descriptive version of the recommendations above, again with like click-through links to the ads. And the other thing is, if you click on one of those shopping images at the top, you're also getting different purchasing options down the right hand side, so you can buy from different places. Yeah, exactly. So it's giving you different price points in there as well. And then the thing I've been playing around with is if you put under £100, well, for espresso machines, there's not much under £100 if we're honest. But let's say we're going under £300 for espresso machines, for example, it will actually start giving you different results as well. Because if you're putting a price criteria in, then it's actually really fixating on the price part of the search. Whereas your example before, you're getting like, whatever, 5-6K espresso machines, the fancy end, because you haven't like put affordability price in there as an important factor for you. So I feel like it's fairly sophisticated for the first version of something that they've launched here. It's pretty major.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's quite impressive. I think they're very fortunate in the fact that they can lean upon Google's shopping experience as well. Like they've been questioned about, well, this is quite similar to Google, so how exactly did you come about this design? And they've said, well, you know, we know what people like, and we're just following their, you know, we're not trying to break the mold exactly. We're just trying to give them what they're used to, and we're going to change according to their habits and you know, their interactions and engagement later on. So it's not too surprising. It looks a bit like Google Shopping, really. Yeah, some of the features and functionality are quite like, or you know, you don't really get to filter much unless you do, as Charlie said, like write that in later, get more specific with your searches. And I've tried that a bit. It can be quite good. It's not perfect, but the information it provides is pretty awesome. It kind of aggregates a lot of different ratings and pricing from lots of different sources. It says some third parties. From what I can tell, this is the retailer's website, Amazon, and pretty much a bit of everywhere, but there's no clear signal of, is this also coming from places like Trustpilot or FIFA or anywhere like that, where you might get a product specific rating. Apparently it's also pulling from reviews from, you know, wired.com and you know, consumer product websites like that, from Reddit too, for some of the information further down. So it's saying, it's got this section that says what people are saying, and it's pulled it from a bit of everywhere. So the ease of use has been pulled from Amazon, the, you know, value for money from Reddit as well. But the only problem I've spotted with this is that some of this is really old information. So even though to make this work, I see it is much more reliable to show results if you click on search first, which makes a fair bit of sense. But if you click on that first, it then should bring more recent information. But a lot of the searches that I've done, it's years and years and years old information. Like this is 11 years old, like really, really old.
And 11 years old is useless if you're buying an espresso machine, to be honest. But
Yeah,
I feel like this to me, I firstly don't think most users would go this deep into the results to actually see. I think the majority of people would just click on these product images at the top because they're nice. It's doing exactly what you want to begin with. It's filtering to your under $300 here. It's pretty perfect. And then if you're comparing on price, which in this kind of search you would be, you're just gonna go for the cheapest one, most probably, unless you're like, you know what, I'm an Amazon Prime member or whatever. I'd rather just get next day delivery on it, and so therefore I'm gonna click the one that I know. Rebel, for example, I don't know who they are, so I might not buy from them. But the interesting thing is I think this just goes back to what we talk about a lot with ChatGPT, which is the whole PR side, because it pulls and amalgamates from so many different sources that actually you have to be doing a really consistent job of PR and citations and conversations about your business and product and brand across the web to be doing well in this. And I think that's the same thing that's feeding in here, particularly if they're taking stuff from even a decade ago.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast just yesterday between Rory Sutherland and Scott Gallagher, and they were talking about the change from 50 years ago, where it was the consumer brands that had the best marketing did the best. They ate up market share, and how it switched to, it doesn't matter how well how great your marketing is, your brand work is. If the product sucks, people are going to know about it. People are going to say that, and that's going to impact your visibility in ChatGPT for absolutely sure. But if Google continues to improve its search engine to be more relevant, pulling information from what people are saying rather than being less algorithmic around, here's the keywords, the query that you search, here are the pages that are best optimized for that particular search query, it's going to change things a lot. Like if Google starts to do that too, then if your product sucks, there's no marketing or advertising that's really going to help you get out of that.
It's true. The thing about this for me though is OpenAI are kind of openly taking on like the giants here. Like they are taking on Amazon Shopping and Google Shopping experiences here. And I'm not sure if I'm surprised that they've done it this early on. But I feel like it is the pathway towards ads, even though I don't know if you remember, Dale, like back in 2021, I think it was, Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI, the parent company that owns ChatGPT, very openly came out to say that he absolutely dislikes ads, thinks it's not a great business model at all. And it's sort of sending different signals here, because I mean, this was long before the days where ChatGPT was garnering like the millions of users that it's got now. And it will be interesting to see if they do actually go down a paid ads route. I find it hard to see how they wouldn't based on this.
Yeah, it's really funny because I was putting my notes together for this session, for this episode, and I can't get access to this because I'm not a subscriber to the information.com. But just like a week ago, they were saying like ChatGPT is cannibalizing Google search, and we covered that in last week's episode. I think we were saying about, okay, top of funnel is being eaten up by generative AI platforms, but commercial search is still fairly well protected. Developments like this kind of change that quite significantly. Because they are coming for shopping. And I think when I was looking through some of these articles, they were talking that have been covering it. They're talking about how they're not intending to monetize this anytime soon. They're not going to be doing affiliate linking. So, for example, every click through to the Amazon earns them 5%, 1%, whatever it is. At the moment, we're putting it out there. We just want to make the features better, and then eventually, something will come along. But it's what they all say. It's what Google probably said 15 years ago when
they did. Call me a skeptic, but that is what Google said. Like back in the late 90s, they were saying, they didn't want. They thought advertising funded search engines would just be too biased towards advertisers, and so they were just building a great search engine, which they have built a great search engine with ads all over it. So I feel like this is history repeating itself. And I think we'd be naive to think that this isn't going to become monetized at some point in the future. And I think this is a big threat for Google, Amazon, other major ad platforms and retailers as well, being ads, all of it, because it's huge. Like the amount of people moving over to ChatGPT, the ease of the shopping experience from here, that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, just last week, they mentioned that there are now 1 billion web searches on ChatGPT, I think per week or per month. I'm not really sure. But even so, whatever period that is, it's massive. And if they're now adding in shopping too, that's a huge impact to retailers. So anyone who's doing working at a retail or e-commerce store, it may actually help to bring people through to your website, or it may actually reduce product sales by the fact that people are making different product decisions because they're getting this more reliable information of, here's what people are saying about it. Is it positive? Is it negative? Is there anything I should be worried about? Is it going to break down in 6 months? In fact, if I just very quickly just go over the features once again, on the right-hand side, it tells you a summary of what people are saying and says, okay, this product is well liked and so on. But next to each of these different summaries per website, like Best Buy, gives a little thumb up of like, this is positive. Customers praise the AirPods Pro 2 for their outstanding noise cancellation, but then we'll add in some negative sentiment as well. So I'm trying to find one because that's way too positive. Everyone seems to love Apple's AirPods Pro. Let's see if we can find some negative sentiment. It's a bit slow.
This is what I'd want though. I'd want to see like the good and the bad, because if you're buying something and especially if you've put an affordability bracket on it as well, price bracket, that it's so rare that you're going to have something that's 100% perfect. You just want to know what the flaws are to check whether those are fine with you. Because you might accept, whatever, it's a slightly more flimsy headphone compared to something else, or the case doesn't charge as quickly compared to other ones. And you might be like, if I'm buying under £100, fine, I'm fine with that.
Here we go. Finally got a result for
toaster ovens.
Multiple cooking function. Let's see what if there's any negativity in here. Come on. Let's have an example, please. Negative. There we go. So the instruction manual clarity. Some users find the instruction manual lacking in clarity, leading to initial confusion when operating the appliance. So yeah, it's great to see that. And you wouldn't really, like if you go to Amazon to purchase a product, you might click on the 3, 4, maybe the 1 and the 2 reviews. And now Amazon adding that summary above the reviews as well. So perhaps potentially people won't do that. I don't know. But it's great to have that kind of done for you so you can make a purchase a bit more reliably and quicker.
We won't need instruction manual soon because ChatGPT will have those on it as well. So I wouldn't worry about that.
You can get a step further than that. Your air fryer is going to come with an AI, and you're going to be able to talk to your air fryer, and it'll tell you You should put this on for 25 minutes.
It's Nancy, the air fryer. How can I help you today? What would you like to fry?
It's only a matter of time for that.
I'm not sure
But
why
just a bit
my
more
air fryer is
background.
called Nancy. Go on.
Just a bit more background information on this. So the way this has been set up by OpenAI within the ChatGPT search function, somebody called Adam Fry, who's a search product lead, was saying that according to him, the shopping experience is more personalized and conversational rather than keyword focused. So it is around, okay, you can fine tune the results as much as you want rather than having to, let's say you're on Amazon or any other retailer website, you click on the filters and it takes you forever to just kind of get roughly what you want. And even then it's not perfect. There's still 30 products that may be good. So then you've got to go through and read every single product page. If it's basing it, if you can interact with the filters in this conversational way, it's going to be so much quicker to get to a product decision, much, much faster. And without you having to go and do that middle of funnel search on other websites like the Wired or Ars Technica or Wirecutter, the New York Times. Is it New York Times? Wirecutter is great for like product reviews comparisons. You just completely cuts off all that, but that presents a traffic problem for websites like Wired and Wirecutter, who for so long earned a lot of traffic for their product reviews.
Yeah.
How do you think that marketers working for e-commerce stores should be thinking about this? Should they be still creating middle of funnel content of comparisons, or have they got a different challenge?
I mean, I feel like the biggest thing that e-commerce marketers are going to be thinking right now is, how do I actually get my product results on here? This is the next place I want to be. And I think you have to think about all of it. You definitely still have to think about that middle of the funnel content, because that feeds a lot of what's going on, both in SEO, which, as we know, still exists. Google still dominates at the moment, so you can't actually start sacrificing that. But when we're thinking about AI search, I think they need to still be thinking about that middle of the funnel. Like you said, Dale, so many platforms, websites, articles getting referenced here, so much information taken even from their own website as well, if you're running an e-commerce store rather than just selling via Amazon, for example. But ChatGPT did actually, or I should say OpenAI, release an article about what's going on in here and how the product results are selected. But they only shared 3 things that ChatGPT is apparently using when determining the products to surface. So the first one was structured metadata from the third-party providers. So that's things like price, your product description, and then also third-party content like reviews, as you mentioned earlier. Then they said, secondly, model responses that have been generated by ChatGPT. So before it's considering any new search results, and then it's actually learning. It seems to be able to then take your intent based on past conversations as well. So for example, if it already knows your preferences about things, for example, it might already know that you buy your fresh coffee, you buy it on a weekly basis. So therefore you're going to need a certain type of espresso machine. You're probably going to want one with a portafilter. You're not going to want a bean to cup that does it all internally in the machine for you. We're getting technical. The point is, it remembers your previous preferences. And then the third one that it mentions are OpenAI's safety standards, which you would expect them to say. But to me, the short version of that, the TLDR, is they're trying to make sure there's not any websites linked in there, any product sites that would actually be scam websites or anything that wouldn't be a trusted retailer selling in there. I suspect there is a lot more going on than those top 3 that we're being given there. But also I do think there's some pretty easy wins in there, making sure that you have that structured metadata on your own website, things like your schema being really good for everything. Just get it done. There's no reason not to get that done. But I think there's more to think about. There's definitely more to think about that middle of the funnel, the PR work you're doing around all of your products, everything to bring it together and actually get into these results.
Absolutely. I love the suggestion that product marketers, or whatever title you're going to have, you work closer with the actual product development teams as well, and say, okay, we're actually your market research team. We're going to find out what people want and then bring it back to you and say, this is what people are saying in different places. We need to fine tune our products and improve it in this area in order to make our marketing much easier to do. It's a lot easier to go out there and communicate that something's great if it actually is great. And if we can kind of fine tune the product beforehand based on what we're hearing. It'll make it a lot easier to go out there and then eventually get enough PR that you do get the positive mentions within ChatGPT, Google, but also in that sentiment side of the product analysis, the product summary on the right hand side there. And I do love that point of if ChatGPT knows that you buy your particular product from one place, it will only really kind of make suggestions based on that. It will store in its memory and say, hey, the next time you're looking for a shirt, I'll know that you want it from there. But that does present another challenge for marketers too, which is if you don't crack it and nail it and get like perfect marketing and product that somebody selects that from, at the very beginning, they may never come back into the market to search and compare between different products. So in this case, it says about, if you only prefer buying black clothes from a specific retailer, it will remember that, store the information, and it will give you recommendations that align with those tastes. You may never be in the market again. I mean, probably will. But for some stuff that is, high end, you only come into the market every 2, 3, 5 years, you could be in like, you could be completely out of the options, out of the choice for forever, unless you are doing really, really well with your marketing, PR, product quality, and customer service even, so that it is getting picked up.
A lot of this to me is also about the positioning though, both for the brand overall and the specific products. So for example, deciding like, this espresso machine, we're really going to push on, this is the best espresso machine under $300, for example, or under whatever, or over, like, this is the best pro. It doesn't have to be a price related positioning. It could be something else in your messaging. And the same for the brand as well, which it all goes back to understanding your customer, because as you're saying, Dale, as ChatGPT starts to remember all of these preferences about customers, like, oh, this person likes to buy high-end products, or this person's generally on a budget, they're more budget focused, or they're actually looking for what's most popular, they want the most on trend, whatever it is, shirts, this certain type of collar, because they actually care about fashion in this moment, whatever it happens to be. It means actually knowing who your customer is so important, because otherwise, as results become more and more personalized, and I think that's going to happen not just in ChatGPT and AI platforms, I expect it will happen on Google search results as well, as we've already seen from the AI mode experiments that they're testing in labs. It's going to be thinking more about who that customer is. If you already know, you're much more likely to be showing up in results across search platforms for the kind of customers that you want. If you're trying to target everyone for everything, it's going to be really difficult, because these algorithms, they're not going to understand exactly what it is you're targeting.
I've been thinking about this for the last couple of days about how this then transfers to other spaces. So because we work with B2B companies, work with B2C companies, we have to consider, everybody. We've been trying to understand how is this going to impact other areas as well. So service companies eventually, I would expect, is going to have the same problem where the visual, the experience is going to change. So the recommendations you get in here are going to be far more visual. So for example, if you search for current mortgage loans or for a VA loan in the US, you get this breakdown in pretty simple bullet points. I think it'll be very similar to what Google did like 10 years ago, where it gradually added new designs, new features. I expect that you're going to see somewhat similar setup and visual and design formatting, whatever you're seeing for shopping today, in the next 6 months to 12 months, where you're going to see these other commercialized terms and search queries and conversations that ChatGPT is also going to want to have a hand in as well. So for those of you who are listening to think, okay, well, the shopping experience sounds great, but it's not going to impact me, this is almost like a testing area before they commercialize and turn everything else into a possible revenue stream for OpenAI as well. One example of that is Perplexity. So if I go into Perplexity today, they've added a whole bunch of stuff so you can search for stocks and finance. It's really, really well done. But also it tends to give you a better formatting for the same kind of question, and will link through to some of those places too. So it's not a huge upgrade or difference from what ChatGPT is offering, but it's just also just another glimpse of what the future looks like, because eventually it's going to look like this, where you come in and you want to get, you know, the market summary. It's going to tell you upcoming earnings, and you get all this information. It's far more visual and attractive, and that's exactly what's going to happen for commercial terms like mortgage rates and what's the best credit card, or trying to think of some other stuff as well.
Those search results are absolutely beautiful, and I think this is the shift we're going to see. Like the visual results, even for something that isn't a product-based item, makes a massive difference to the searcher. We probably all feel it ourselves. If anyone's watching on screen, they're probably thinking like, wow, imagine if those were the results you actually got for most of your non-product, non-shopping searches as well. The visuals are so good.
Yeah. I tend to find that Perplexity is probably it almost feels like the testing ground. It's like the Snap to Facebook. Snap creates a function and then Facebook copies it, like stories and everything else. I always feel like Perplexity is the one to keep an eye on how it develops its UI. And then I start to see that everywhere else as well. So I'm half expect, not that they did it first, of course, you know, Yahoo has their own kind of finance setup and design. Google does as well. But if I was in the AI space and thinking, okay, not how do I change the design of my search engine and how does my business feature in that? Sorry. What's Perplexity doing? Because that's probably what's going to come for me next. So if I'm in the mortgage space, I'll be trying to figure out how do we make sure that we're getting reference, our information is current, that we're getting regular mentions everywhere, the sentiment is something that we track as well. Because it's just an inevitability. This commercialized end of product shopping is going to come for other stuff as too.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I think we summarized it pretty well.
Yeah, me too. I think it's a bit scary, but I also think it's great. I think this is exactly the kind of thing that searchers will want to evolve to. Personalized results, shopping ads or non-ads. At the moment, they're independent and not ads in ChatGPT. I think people are going to like that. I think they're going to like the idea that it's independent and not based on who's bidding on what. I'm interested to see how it's going to evolve. I think it's going to change shopping for sure.
Yeah, it's a question of who's bidding on what, not who's bidding on what yet, because that's going to be the next bit. That's like the PPC evolution is going to be every PPC team is going to have one person or an agency dedicated to ChatGPT. Well, I still hate the name. Just call it Chat. Come on, it's time to change. Somebody's going to be responsible for this in the same way that you've got somebody in the team who is maybe managing your Google ads and a portion of their time is on Microsoft ads. It's going to be Google ads, Microsoft ads, and ChatGPT ads. And that's going to increase and increase. Okay. Like it's an inevitability. ChatGPT is here to stay. Be prepared for it. You've got to have an organic strategy and a paid strategy for ChatGPT. It's okay, maybe only 20% of your entire team's time, but that's going to increase to 30, 40, 50% in the next year or two, if not sooner, because it's growing fast.
Absolutely.
Super. Well, you can hear us talk a lot more about ChatGPT and generative AI and AI search in the Dojo podcast. So if you go to exposureninja.com/podcast, you'll be able to find hundreds of episodes between Charlie and I, as well as Tim Cameron Kitchen, our founder, talking about all these platforms and much, much more. And if you need help with any of your SEO, your AI search, anything like that, just come on over to exposureninja.com. We'll be more than happy to help you out. Have a great weekend, Charlie, and we'll see you all next week.
You too, Dale. Thanks, everyone.
Pleasure. Bye.